As Vice Chair, I'll call the meeting to order, and
I guess
we'll get us started.
Start, yeah.
Perfect. Okay.
Let me see here. Okay, so kind of a general topic, or kind of a general overview is what we've kind of prepared for you tonight. Can y'all see my screen okay? The PowerPoint slides? Okay. Yeah. So that was the agenda and the vision statement, which we are including it to be read at the beginning of all of our meetings. I don't really know the protocol if it's not like a voting thing, but that is our vision statement. So this work plan, I've started with listing out the board responsibilities, just kind of focusing in on the two main topics right now that we have to focus on are anything trees and recycling. That's the two issues that we already have on the board's plate right now. So I just went ahead and said for the main focus for tree boards would be maintaining the Tree City USA designation. So with that comes reviewing anything modifications or anything that's presented for the ordinance, things like that, to be an advisory board, to an annual report to council. That's new with the new tree ordinance. They do a tree, I can't remember if it's an inventory or just a report, but that's an annual thing that this board's responsible for. They're also responsible for Arbor Day, so we would coordinate with the city's event coordinator to plan that celebration. This year could be a little bit different, just in the sense of we don't really know when it will be in April, because Arbor Day is in April. So just maybe when we do get there, just kind of be prepared for alternative options than just a big celebration. So that's something we have to maintain our Tree City USA designation. We have to do an annual proclamation, and that's during Arbor Day as well. Also, public education for trees and holding educational programs is something that the board's responsible for, as well as just some admin things. Like we're working toward a growth award, which goes along with maintaining our Tree City USA, and annual report for council. So then the second thing that the board's responsible for is recycling, which right now, as I guess all of y'all know, that we're getting a new recycling service. Our contract with Waste is up June 2021, I believe. I'm pretty sure it's June. And so I know that the board is interested in participating in that process. So that's something, along with getting a new informational guide that says any changes of this recycling service versus the new one, just kind of tracking stats for that as well. And getting public education is a big component of that too. So with that being said, those are the main duties of the board, just kind of an overview. And along with things that need to be done is just keep on promoting the existing programs. I think we're just sometimes guilty of it too, just starting a project and not really seeing it all like continuing. So just continuing on, like doing tree tags and tree awareness, continuing to post that both on our individual pages and also on the Belmont page. Like, it helps a lot just to share it. I know it doesn't mean the same to people if they just see the city of Belmont posted it versus if one of us posted it or shared it on our personal page, because we all reach different amount of people. So I think too, an ongoing public education thing that we could do is to maybe just have a goal of having one tree awareness post a month, or a creative something to get the word out about trees, as well as a recycling education post. So that's 2 posts a month. Not too difficult, but also it just kind of keeps us on track and spreads awareness of those two things that the board's responsible for right now. In addition, just keeping the tree resource webpage up to date. And we also don't have a recycling webpage up at the moment. That's definitely something that's on the list of things that need to be done just because we don't have it. And it's with this new transition of waste providers, I think it would be really helpful to have a recycling page where people can go and kind of see the information and kind of have a point to go to for any information related to recycling. So this is going to be a little bit small, so bear with me. But I've created a work plan that kind of puts things into focus of when they need to be done, things that the board is responsible for, and just kind of compiled it into a 15 month kind of plan, just so everyone kind of knows these are our target dates. This is what we're responsible for here. And it's helpful for me just to kind of see like within the next year what we need to accomplish. I've also color coded it here for recycling task and tree tasks, just so it's a little bit easier to differentiate what topics at hand when. Like in April, it's kind of tree heavy because of Arbor Day, but then there's like a break and recycling's a big focus because of the contract change. So that's kind of where we are there.
Hey, Peyton, can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
It looks like on this map in December, there's something called Elections for RFP Interview Board.
Yes.
Does the RFP go out at that time or right after that time or something?
Yes. So last I heard, those are going out by the end of the year. And so in January is when the interviews would begin for that. And so there's, from my understanding, a committee that's going to be gathered for those interviews. So a committee can sit and help kind of filter through those proposals.
Okay.
And Peyton, I think we have a list of the members of this board that are part of that committee as well, right?
Okay.
Yeah.
I might have it. I haven't laid my eyes on it, but we probably do have it. I think so.
In a previous discussion, both Jennifer and I volunteered to be part of that. I don't want to limit anyone else on the board participating, but I'm very happy to do so. And RFPs and contracting are a normal part of the work I do anyway. So happy to lend some support.
Well, that's great. Yes, we definitely need the help. So I just kind of have this now broken down into quarters, like kind of what we need to do for the remainder of our 2020 calendar year. We need to continue the True PSA Project social media post, and we're beginning our True City USA renewal application, which is due in December. November is National Recycling Month / there's a specific day, so I think maybe coming up with something that we can brainstorm to do for that to kind of get public awareness that it's recycling day / month, whatever we decide to do. And also we are at the ESB board is meeting with City Council at the City Council workshop November 16th, just to kind of have a discussion about where the board wants to go, where they want the board to go, things like that. So I think we definitely need to have just something prepared for that conversation, just so we can see everyone can be on the same page and kind of get ready to go. So that's kind of where we are for the end of this year.
Hey, Peyton, sorry to be so inquisitive.
No, you're good, please.
Are those city council workshops conducted in person? Are they virtual meetings, or how are they conducting?
They're in person. They're socially distanced at TechWorks in the large conference room at the bottom. They're Mondays at 4. So the 16th, I believe, I should have the date right, but let me just double check. November 16th at 4 p.m. at TechWorks is when those meetings are held.
4 p.m. Okay.
And it's my understanding that the entire board is certainly invited to participate, but based on everybody's work schedules, the other option would be if you guys wanted to have a couple of people serve as representatives, that would certainly be a viable way to pursue that as well.
Definitely. Thank you.
I would definitely be interested in doing that, just throwing it in there.
Okay, awesome.
Yeah, I'll mark my calendar as well. Be happy to tag along with Doug.
Okay, awesome. So, and also in December, I'm trying to plan, just kind of putting it in people's ears, that we will have an Arbor Day subcommittee to meet with our events coordinator. So hopefully in December we'll know who those people will be. So in December or in January, when we come back from the new year, we can kind of start working with her on that to figure out what we're going to do for Arbor Day. So I kind of have that for the remaining of this year and the beginning of the calendar year. The RFP interviews will take place, Arbor Days in April, along with the new recycling. I think around March or so, we need to start kind of working on a recycling campaign, because I feel like whenever that transition occurs, there'll be a lot to go on and to post and let people know what's kind of the new ordeal. So I think around then, March or April, somewhere around there. These are all tentative as well. This is just kind of something I put together just so we can kind of see where we're going in a sense. So for mostly May through August, we kind of take a break, not a break, but focus kind of shifts more toward the recycling campaign and the new recycling contract, which does expire on June 30th. So that's kind of what I see for that quarter. And then the last quarter is kind of goes back to trees with renewing our Tree City USA. The tree preservation ordinance annual report will need to be done around that time as well. And so that's kind of where I see the end of that year going. So from there, I guess I know we want to add another focus area, or add just kind of something else to the plate. But I think a better question to ask first is if we want to add this to be on the board's responsibility and add that into y'all's work plan and as an ESB goal, or do we want to add it into the comp plan so the city as a whole can accomplish it? Because I think once we kind of figure out where to go from there, we can kind of see if we have the capacity to take it on, if it just kind of depends on what we want to add and where, if that makes sense. And then that will be a better roadmap. So if any of y'all have thoughts on that, that would be awesome.
Yeah, I know a few of us were in between these meetings, were throwing around some ideas around thinking about, sustainability commitments, energy commitments for the city. I know it's hard to pull together the data to know where our starting point is. But, it would be interesting to at least think about, what might make sense from an energy or a sustainability perspective to at least consider it. So, I don't know. Doug, I know you were part of that email thread when Jennifer, you and I were talking about some of this offline and trying to figure out, would it make sense to actually do a survey of the citizens of Belmont to figure out what's a high priority that we ought to consider?
Well, yeah, and so we do have that as an option. I think too, it was just kind of, this is more just kind of trying to figure out, I guess, a better target. I don't really know exactly how to describe it, but we do have the survey as an option prepared.
Yeah, I'll jump in here, Peyton. So when, absolutely. So when we were talking about this, I don't know what's going on with that word, so y'all just ignore me. I'm so sorry. So when we were talking about this, there's a few different ways that we can try to help the board with focusing this. So one of them is to see if City Council is open to expanding the list of responsibilities for the Environmental Sustainability Board to include another focus area in addition to the two that you guys already have, and keep it solely within the responsibility of the ESB board and, to advise on those roles. Or we could see if City Council was open to adding some more details into our comprehensive land use plan as it relates to how we approach environmental sustainability. So one of the things that we know that the comprehensive land use plan does is outline the importance of our tree canopy when it comes to land use. It doesn't necessarily touch as much on recycling, although it does in some ways, but in the land use plan specifically, it doesn't. But it could touch on things like an overarching goal to add to the city's long-range plans for energy consumption or some of the other options that you guys have discussed. So I guess the difference between the two is one is sort of an ongoing, maybe month to month or every quarter kind of touch on it from your perspective. And the other is just making sure that the city as a whole has some advocacy in its long range planning towards those efforts. And or if we have the capacity, you could choose to direct us that maybe you're interested in both. But what we didn't want to assume, since we know you guys are primarily doing this in addition to likely a full-time job, was that you felt comfortable adding additional job responsibilities without knowing your capacity in terms of your time commitment abilities outside of your daily work schedule. So with that, we wanted to just open it up for a conversation to see what you guys were thinking and if what Peyton presented tonight, if there was some room to add some more stuff in there from your perspective, or if we needed to add it in a different place.
It strikes me that, you know, in order for this board to add some, you know, meaningful conversation for consideration by City Council, that, you know, we're going to need them to agree and align to, you know, what's in scope for us and what's out of scope. And so I do think that first piece that you mentioned, Tiffany, as far as getting City Council to recognize what's the scope of this board, I think that's an important step, because that's going to make it easier for us to come up with recommendations that we provide to City Council for subsequent approval on their part.
So Rob, you're saying that perhaps that's a question that we want to get addressed more at the City Council meeting and open that up for a larger conversation between the ESB and City Council.
I think it would be worth that conversation. I don't know how Doug and Becky and others feel, and Grace, but I think that it would be good to also get their feedback too, because they may view the role of this board to be a bit broader than the current scope is defined in writing.
Would this be a good idea to bring up November 16th with City Council and kind of have some back and forth with them to, I guess, in pretty good words, to expedite our ability to move forward with activities that fulfill the goals and wants of this board? Is November 16th an appropriate time to kind of talk about this, you think?
Oh, at the workshop?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I know that there'll be a message, it'll be relayed to City Council, and then City Council will think about it, and they'll be relayed back to us, and then there'll always be some, not direct message, but, you know, an interpreted message, because it's not coming right from the person's mouth. So I was wondering, would it be better for us just to talk directly, you know, for a small period of time to get a better understanding and to do that very quickly?
I think that's certainly an approach that you guys could take, is to say, look, our main priority is to just get it on the radar. And so City Council, would you prefer that to become part of the board's responsibilities, or would you prefer to look at this issue in another way? But certainly we want to advocate for this issue to be addressed in some way within the city. You can certainly have that conversation. And so that, if that's the direction you guys want to take, would help us to be able to help structure that survey that you want to put out for the community to make sure that it's broad enough to not outline specifically whose responsibility it may be, but just that we are looking at a focus area of environmental sustainability with responsibility sort of to be determined by a future conversation.
Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense, Tiffany. To do that survey ahead of November workshop with the City Council would be great if we could make that timing work out, because that way we come in with a more informed set of messages to be able to say to City Council, hey, look, the citizens of Belmont think that having a focus on energy efficiency for the city-owned buildings makes sense, for example. And there's probably other topics that we could add to that survey too.
Sure. And so that's kind of where I was like leading this in a sense of timeline for survey. When we found out that the ESB would be going to the council workshop, that's just something that we were like, yeah, the survey definitely needs to be done before then. So okay. I kind of had, we were kind of brainstorming just because it is on such a short timeline, doing a Facebook poll maybe. So people could just do it on there and we could share, and the different Facebook pages can just relay that message just because it is such a short survey and it's a short timeline. So we were kind of thinking maybe doing that. And I drafted I don't know if that corner is going to be able to see. Okay. Just kind of an introduction paragraph of the ESB and what it does, its main focuses, and how that the board is looking to add an additional focus area. So I kind of drafted this part, and I was hoping that for the actual options, we could do a little brainstorming session just so we could go ahead and target those for sure, lock those in so we can go ahead and get started on that survey. If y'all think that sounds like a good idea.
Sure.
I like it.
So I had some of these from that email because I know that Jennifer included me on that little email chain that y'all were in. So I kind of took some of those, sticking to a little bit more broader topics. I know some of them got narrowed down, just because if we get broad topics in diverse areas, I kind of feel like that might be, people pick the one that they see that is closest to what they feel most passionate about, just because it is not as specific. So what do I did 5 with a fill in the blank option. I know we can do more or less. I would say maybe not do more than 5 actually, just kind of stick to 5 or less. But these are the ones over here. I guess y'all can see my mouse and everything. These are the ones from the email that I gathered. So if we want to use those, talk about those, we can definitely do whatever, but I think we do need to lock those in tonight.
Sure.
Okay.
I think that makes sense. I was trying to remember if there were some other things in that thread that we were talking about. And first of all, apologies to Becky and Grace, because we didn't mean to have a subset of the ESB meeting, but it kind of started to evolve, as all of us had some energy on the conversation. We were talking about commitments that other cities have made publicly that have set goals that they want to achieve around sustainable building practices, a percentage of sourcing their electricity from renewable sources, reducing their greenhouse gas footprints, developing and implementing an energy code for new construction. There's all kinds of things like that. What I don't really understand is, does any of that resonate with the citizens? Because if you go out to implement a code, a new energy building code, for instance, it's going to cost developers more money, but do the citizens in the city benefit from that in the long term? Because some of these things do take investment to achieve.
Yeah, I think that's a good thought. And I think that, with some of the things that you mentioned, their goals underneath an umbrella mission like energy conservation. Energy conservation would be reduced use of energy and then getting your energy from other power sources, and maybe just put like a 1 or 2 sentence blurb underneath each one on what it actually means, to help kind of focus in the scope on what the title of that mission would be. How does that sound? Maybe add a couple other to this list here, and then go with that.
So are you saying, just for clarification purposes, are you saying to add the description on the survey, or if later on we chose one of these, or then we would do the more generic specific topics underneath the broad umbrella topic?
Excellent question. So what comes into mind is you want someone to read it, and you want someone to care about it. And so you inundate them with too much information. They tend not to go past the first few lines.
Right.
So yeah, maybe a topic with 1 sentence of description, and we'll try to make it as focused as possible on what that title means. Mm-hmm. I think that's just an opinion that I had in the last 20 seconds.
Okay. Okay. Well, if we can So I'm gonna say these over here are the ones that we've definitely locked in. So if y'all want to use these 3, then we'll need to come up with 2 more or something. And then I can send out a follow-up email on that. And if y'all could just help me maybe condense these topics, if this is in your area or something, and everyone just takes one, just to divide and conquer to get the survey pushed out. Y'all seem to be more on the expert side with like the specific things on it. I'm still kind of learning on some things like this, but if y'all could definitely help me, I would appreciate that, so we can get the survey out maybe next week. But I can do the construction of the survey. Maybe if you could just help me with the descriptions of these main topics, that would be very helpful.
Sure, happy to do so.
Okay.
And Peyton, just in the mechanics of how the survey is issued, is it all online? Is it all virtual?
I would say yes. I think just time-wise, it would be really difficult to organize and orchestrate it in person or try to do anything more than just online, just because we do only have a couple of weeks, honestly, to get it done so we can get the data back and kind of see where we fall.
Okay.
Okay, so decisions.
Yeah, I mean, I'm thinking about, and I'll see if I can dig it up because I may have a copy of it. I just saw a survey that the city of San Antonio, Texas did, and about a year and a half, maybe almost 2 years ago now, they put out a carbon reduction plan, as they called it. And specifically, they wanted to reduce their greenhouse gas footprint, but specifically carbon. And so I don't know how much citizen and stakeholder involvement there was. I think there were working groups to pull that together. And then the utility, the power company, they're city-owned. So they did a survey of their citizens and their customers and found out most of the customers were not actually very concerned about that carbon reduction plan because they knew it would cost more money in their electric rates. And so there was a difference between what the survey was saying and what the city actually put together in a plan. So that's why I think these surveys can be very revealing and give insights on, and really change things that we might assume are correct and may end up being incorrect.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think it definitely is a good idea to get community feedback. So energy conservation, I feel like, is just something I've heard a lot. So I'm going to go ahead and just say we definitely want to target that as an option. What else do we want for these?
I think city programs around, you could target carbon specifically, but that's just one of, 7 greenhouse gases in greenhouse gas emissions. There's methane and other things too, but you could more generically call it reducing the environmental footprint.
Okay.
I don't know, Doug and Becky, are there better ways to describe it?
The only thing is, I think that's an incredibly broad topic, because it could really reach almost any of these. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, for instance, I was looking at the environmental plan that Marriott International has put out for their hotels, and it involves energy conservation, and involves water, reducing waste, reducing food waste. So I agree with you. That could be a broad topic.
Mm-hmm.
If the concern is about those greenhouse gases, though, we could have an item broad enough to include all greenhouse gases, but not so broad that it's the entire environmental footprint.
Yeah. My only fear is, will someone know what a greenhouse gas is?
I think if we do the one sentence brief kind of description, maybe in that we can just touch base.
Okay.
And kind of give a brief overview. That would be my only answer to that question.
I think it's important for people to be able to, read these and know how it would relate to an action by the city. Yeah. So, unfortunately, greenhouse gases, I think most people, their first thought is emissions from cars on the road. And I'm not sure that that's something that the city can do anything about. And I know that there are a lot of other greenhouse gases and that those are things the city can do, but I think that might be sort of the disconnect. It's not so much people don't know what any greenhouse gases are, but what can we even do about it as a city? So if there may be something more specific, like a specific method that the city could do to reduce the greenhouse gas emissions or greenhouse gas, yeah.
The one thing I'll offer in there, from my perspective, is that you're right. I think at first it maybe is hard to put that piece together, Becky, but I'm wondering if in a sentence we can describe maybe some of those strategies. So from my perspective, I guess because I deal with a lot of the transportation efforts, one of the easiest ways that we reduce the emissions from cars is to make our communities more walkable and bikeable, right? And so if there is that goal, then it also relates to goals that the city has for increasing bike lanes and sidewalk connectivity and other things. But it also expands beyond that, because we can put in those lanes all day long, but if we don't engage the community to take advantage of them, then we don't really reduce the carbon or greenhouse gas emissions from those vehicles. So if that is something you guys are interested in, then if the community is supportive of that, we could talk about how this board could help to really increase the engagement on like promoting active lifestyles as it relates to why it's important for environmental sustainability.
Right.
That's good. And this almost seems like, you start talking about two different goals. It seems like a Venn diagram where you increase bike lanes, you're going to reduce greenhouse gases, and you're also going to increase the friendliness of outdoor activities. From that, maybe good to list the top 3 priorities that people have. I don't know if we have the ability to take those results from a poll, but because one initiative may serve 2 different goals.
Well, and what about air quality as the overall topic rather than greenhouse gases?
That could work.
Let's do that.
And Tiffany, to your point, you know, a lot of people in Belmont have, I think, probably an abnormally more active outdoor kind of lifestyle compared to other areas in the region. And so, you know, if you're running or biking or walking and you can't breathe because the air's, you know, there's too many cars on the road, I think that kind of correlates. And that might be a little bit more relatable for people versus the greenhouse gases. I don't know, but you guys can feel free to override me on that.
I think that's a great idea. And Grace, I'm going to step in here and just ask if you can, I know you're on phone, so do you need us to read anything on the screen so that you can be a little bit more informed about the conversation, or do you have a clear idea of what's going on?
Yeah, pretty, I'm not sure what any of the other topics are that you have. I actually sorry, I haven't been able to unmute myself to talk while I was driving. I just got here now. I do think it'd be a good idea to kind of market that as overall air quality, because then we can work on both with greenhouse gases as well as any other emissions that can reduce breathability and things like that. Because that'll kind of fall under the same action umbrella. I think that's definitely a way to phrase that.
Good.
All right. So we're down to, we have two. I guess I'm just going to leave it up to y'all. We can do as many, maybe 5, 3. I would say maybe do an additional. I wouldn't just do 2. I think I would try to maybe get at least another one in there. Another umbrella topic y'all would like to add.
So waste and recycling, that's something we're already doing, right? So that does not have to be on here.
Right.
Okay.
Something generally about waste reduction in terms of I know we had talked about kind of the bottle fillers and stuff like that, and ways that we can reduce the amount of waste people are coming up with, or do y'all think that falls too much with recycling?
I think that could piggyback off of recycling for me, just in terms of putting that waste where it really needs to be, which is recycled, and hopefully reduce consumption along with that as well. But I know where you're coming from. It's not exactly the same and could be a different approach.
Yeah, it's really good waste management is what the topic would be, not recycling. Because if you could continually reuse something, garbage, I mean, that's you, essentially. So it's even though it's very, but it falls under waste management. Pretty, it's just part of.
So I know that water conservation was on there. Do we have any thoughts on that?
I was just thinking it would be too broad to say water quality and conservation. Or is that just far out of our scope?
I guess my question for, and this might help us focus it, would be, is the focus area the quality of drinking water, or is it more of the quality in our watersheds?
That's probably a good question. Because and I'm thinking pollution of our waterways and underground water supply, but as kind of the quality piece. But yeah, I don't know. I think you're right. People would probably tie that more to drinking water quality.
But if that's where you guys would like to focus is on the waterway, I think that there are some great opportunities for partnering with other groups that are doing that so that you guys don't have to do all the work and can instead, be a collaborative group on, groups like the Catawba River Keepers. What can we do to enhance that and serve our goal and, still work together to make sure that the quality of our water and our watersheds and our waterways promotes environmental sustainability and keeps our wildlife intact and, keeps our trees intact and all of those things. So I was not trying to downplay the goal. I think that could just help us focus on how we word that in the survey.
I like how that sounds.
Yeah, I do too.
What should we name it?
I was gonna say, what type?
Like watershed improvement.
Do we like that?
So another part of the watershed are the waterways and keeping them clean. I know that's part of Catawba River's mission. How can we include that watershed and waterways or?
Maybe watershed protection.
Yeah. Okay, and then with our one-line description of that, I think we should be fine. All right, good. Do we want to add anything for? We mentioned this before, kind of like an outdoor friendliness, or what do we want to call it? Like creating nice outdoor areas to provoke more people to be outdoors, like the living walls and things like that. Mm-hmm. What do we call it? Someone said something sound like a baby.
I think that might have been Ellie. Sorry.
Ellie, speak up. I think you had something good there, Ellie.
Sorry.
I think that one, while I love green walls and I love green building principles, with my architecture background, that tends to be my preference. I think it is maybe a more challenging goal just because developers tend to have some discretion in terms of how they design their buildings from a planning perspective, although we can certainly, talk to council about how do we encourage it, because we can certainly always promote it and encourage it. We just can't require it. So that's not to limit that goal, but I'm just wondering, if we throw it out there, are we setting a bar that we might have a hard time working toward?
I gotcha. Yeah, I was thinking, the outdoor walls. I don't know what part we could play in with, creating walkable paths or bike lanes, just promoting being outdoors in general. But yeah, I know what you mean. So I'm not sure what we can do. I know we can solve all the world's problems here, but time that we have.
What do you guys? This one's going to be kind of maybe in left field a little bit. I'm going to throw it out there. So because Belmont is a bee city as well as a tree city, what are you guys' thoughts about asking the community about more of an urban agriculture goal that could include things about the promotion of bees, gardening or farming, ecotourism, other things that may relate to outdoor sustainability?
Yeah, I think there would definitely be interest there.
Sorry, this is great. Sorry, I'm going to have to go. But if you want to send out like a follow-up email on what you'll end up deciding, I'd be glad to help out with whatever. And I should be able to attend the city council meeting on the 16th.
Okay.
To get there.
That's great. Yeah, and I wanted to say, whatever we put down here, we can change it in the next couple of weeks if we come up with better wording.
Oh, sure. Sure.
So I understand what Grace said. And Grace, it sounds like you're at a great party.
Yeah. Well, I'm at like a field, so there's a lot of yelling going on. Yeah. Well, so I will talk to you guys at our follow-up meeting whenever we decide on that.
Okay. Thank you, Grace.
Yeah, thanks,
Bye, Grace.
Yeah. Have a great
Bye.
night.
Yeah, so Tara, I think that, personally, I have interest in that, and I know I'll call them circles I hang around in. We all have great interest in that. It's something that's would be important. So I'd like to add it.
Okay.
See how it does.
Sure, that would at least let us get the temperature on what the overall community interest is in something like that.
And so the other
Sorry, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say the other one that I see on the right, the smart growth within land use planning. I could see that being a pretty popular first choice for some people in this city.
Now, what would that be? What examples would fall under that?
So I'm gonna be honest, I just pulled this from the email. So I'm not sure who initially started the list, but I just kind of pulled it from that. So did either one of y'all happen to add it? Robert or Doug?
Maybe I added it.
I can, in the chat box, if you check that out, I'm going to send you guys a link to a website that's Smart Growth America that talks about it uses that phrase in relation to development. And that may provide some good resources to get a grasp on what all that includes. But their general first little snippet on their page says it empowers communities to create livable spaces, healthy people, and shared prosperity. Let's see. Oh, there was another thing that they talked more about environmental sustainability. Hold on one second. What is smart growth? That's what we're looking for. Okay. Let's see. What's the one?
It sounds like. Go ahead, Rob. Sorry.
Oh, no, I was going to say this is something that I've actually seen utilities like Duke Energy promote, because it can take empty warehouses and convert those to indoor agricultural growing facilities to be able to create, vegetables or whatever that can be distributed locally and reduce the cost of getting locally grown agriculture to the hands of people who are right there. It also enables those buildings to be reused for a more productive purpose, but also the utility gets higher electric bills, so there's certainly an interest on their part to reuse brown warehouse space for other purposes.
Sounds good. I think that's part of it. I think it also kind of commits some land not to be used for growth and to create, and like with what you said, I think that's excellent to use something that would like manufacturing and could be a brownfield and then use it for something that really benefits the community with land that really has been being used at all. And no, I definitely see that there's a benefit for the utility having the lights back on. So yeah, I think it's let's throw it in there.
All right. Perfect. I did find that link, so I sent that in the chat to everybody.
Okay, so we have that and then a fill in the blank option. So I think that definitely covers a bunch of topics. So hopefully that should be a better idea for us that we can take to council when we go in November.
Oh yeah, the website link you sent has brownfields redevelopment. That's interesting.
Well done, Robert.
Water quality, climate change, air quality. All right. Well, I think we're pretty well aligned with this website. That's good.
And I think what's nice with that too is that item speaks to something that, while it includes the other ones don't include, which is talking about intentionally looking for and promoting compact neighborhoods so that the remainder of the land can remain open and not be impacted. So that would be whether or not our community is open to more densely compacted development versus sprawling suburban neighborhoods.
Okay. So, Peyton, I guess the expectation is that or the ambition here is to send this survey out over the next few days, and we can respond via email, and then I guess to get it out in the next week or two, maybe.
That is the plan. Hopefully end of next week, if not the very beginning of the next. I think we want ample time for people to be able to give their feedback and then for us to come back and process it and kind of see where we fall. So we'll be prepared and ready to go to council. So that's kind of the idea. So I can send this out to y'all so we can work on the kind of one sentence descriptions that are going along with these. And then I will coordinate with our public information officer, Jamie Campbell, who is in charge of things that we do send out to the public. So I'll coordinate this with her as well. And so I just asked too that we just share it if you know somebody, or if you do have a Facebook page and you're willing to share, that would be awesome, just so we do kind of get as much reach as we can, even though it's in a short amount of time.
Okay.
Do we also, I know we set this up, a QR code on the trees that we put the signs on. Let me just paint a picture and shoot it down. What if, because I conveniently have some free time right now. What if we went to a couple restaurants and there would just be a one-line sentence, something like, hey, the Environmental Sustainability Board of Belmont is looking for some feedback on some environmental issues that are important to you. Please, and then there'd be that QR code there. They'd open their phone, they go to there, and then they could do the polling there, and that could go to restaurants. And we can even ask like stores just to put it on the window for the next couple of weeks. But maybe they wouldn't have a hard time doing that. I don't know if that, the one concern there is you'll get people from out of town maybe looking at it. I don't know. I think if I was in a surrounding town and I saw that, I don't think that I would put in my poll for the environmental initiatives. So what do you guys think about that?
I'm open to that if y'all are willing to definitely help. I'm just gonna be honest, like I don't have the capacity to do the whole thing, or I might can go to a restaurant or two, but I think the organization, as unfortunate as it is, we're swamped. So I don't have the full capacity to organize that, but I do think maybe that would reach a different group of people that we might not be able to reach on social media, like older people that may not have Facebook or technology or things like that. So I can help with the QR code and maybe go to a restaurant. But if you would be willing maybe to grab some friends and kind of, if you said you have free time, maybe help, then I don't think it could hurt. I think the more responses, the better, in my opinion.
I think it sounds fun. All right, so I'll throw out an email on kind of what that looks like. If you can help out with the QR code, then I'll figure something out. And if it makes sense, I'll rally a small group and try to see who reach out to.
Okay, great. That would be awesome.
Just a quick question on how the survey works on Facebook. Do you have to have an account to be able to take the survey?
I'm pretty sure, which I need to research this more. If you do have a link or something like that, I think you can answer without having an account, but I will need to double check on that because I know that will kind of go. We might have to check on that and then change strategies if you don't, because I know that not everyone has a Facebook account and people would maybe want to vote or participate in the poll that don't have that account.
I have one, but I hardly ever use it.
So our lovely Seth Norkett, who is our IT specialist, just chimed in and said that he could create a custom survey if needed to place on the website, and we could have a link. So maybe a link to the link on the website for those who don't have Facebook, and maybe if we could do the QR code to that link, maybe that could work. Again, we just want to keep in mind that we are on a tight time frame, but I think we could definitely do it just because we do have about, I would say, 3-ish weeks definitely until this needs to be wrapped up, just so we can kind of prep and see where we need to go before the 16th of November. But I do think that would be a good option, and we could post both on Facebook and the link as well if needed.
I'm going to jump in here since Seth is listening in. But I will say that one of the things that laying out the work plan or looking at Peyton's hard work and laying out the work plan kind of triggered for me was the fact that this work is so important and sometimes takes a lot longer than we initially think it does in terms of the community engagement and advocacy that's involved with it. So I think one of the things that I'd like to throw out there is whether or not you guys think it would be helpful to start building up a volunteer base so that when there's initiatives that you guys want help with, we have a group of people that we can reach out to assist us. And I know sometimes we get busy, life happens, and that way, whoever's available on that date, if we had a group of people that wanted to be involved, we could have that as an option to help get the word out on things.
Yeah, I like that suggestion. I think we discussed that at a board meeting 5, 6, 7 months ago. I don't remember the exact timing. And one suggestion that came out of that was, why not go to some of those who have applied to be on this board who, for one reason or another didn't get on the board or actually live outside the city of Belmont maybe. But there are names that we have of people who are interested in what this board is doing. And we could even start with those folks as possible candidates for volunteering to support us.
Absolutely. And I will say one of the things that we were looking at too, and just as something, you guys were looking at how other groups were handling things. Charlotte, while they're much larger than us, one website I found was treescharlotte.org. And I think their group actually partnered with a nonprofit, or in part became a nonprofit, so that as they started their initiatives, if volunteers were specifically looking to volunteer with a nonprofit, they could get those logged volunteer hours and tax deductions from sponsors or things if we needed money for larger initiatives. So not that we need to do that right now by any means, but just to keep on our radar that is an approach that some are taking to just help get additional boots on the ground.
Yeah, I like that idea. And of course, the city of Charlotte started Envision Charlotte years ago, which, became initially focused on energy conservation in the top 40 tallest, biggest buildings in Charlotte downtown. And, once they were able to put a program into place to actually compare energy efficiency across all those buildings and actually have building owners responding and reducing their energy footprint, then they moved on to air quality, I think was the next thing they focused on. So it's interesting to see like groups like that spawn off. Of course, Envision Charlotte has become Envision USA. It's actually branched across the whole U.S. It's become pretty big. And I think they're still officially a nonprofit.
Nice.
So Seth, if you're listening in and wanted to help from a technology perspective, we welcome your thoughts. Not to get this conversation too sidetracked, but
Yes.
perfect. Thank you, Seth.
Thank you.
Well, I feel like this is pretty productive in a sense of we're kind of know where we're going at the moment, even if it's a loose plan. But I will go ahead and send out that follow-up email about the survey answers and their little descriptions, as well as a follow-up meeting where hopefully we can get more of a quorum and be able to make decisions if necessary, and as well as further prep for the council meeting. But does anybody have anything else tonight that they would like to share, or any comments, questions, concerns? Yes.
Do you want to talk at all tonight about any ideas that the board may have for whether or not we want to promote Recycling Day or Recycling Month?
Yeah, that was something that we had discussed earlier about next month is Recycling Month/Day on the 15th, 16th. Let me see here.
I think
it was in November, the 15th. So is there any ideas that y'all would have for that, that we could do in order to kind of bring more awareness on that? I don't think we've done anything for recycling in a long time. I know that I haven't done anything since I've been here since June. I knew when I interned last summer, maybe, or last Christmas break, I can't remember, I was working on something for recycling, but I don't know if it ever really took off. So do you have any ideas or something that we could do for that?
No, but it's kind of interesting. That particular date is on a Sunday.
It is. I guess that's what the day is every year. It's kind of, they just designated the 15th, then whichever day it falls, that's when it is.
Well, I know that at one point, and Doug was really good at doing this, was, trying to create this list of things that you can recycle and things you shouldn't or can't, that are not allowed in recycling. And, is that an appropriate date to put out a reminder on what is qualified as recycling material versus what is not qualified? And, just take advantage of the fact that it's National Recycling Day. I don't, other than that, I can't guess what the purpose of the day is other than to promote what, proper recycling, I guess.
I agree with that. And I think too that You can never have too many reminders about what you can and can't recycle, especially for people who are either new to recycling or not the best recyclers. I know like sometimes when one of my roommates was always like, can I recycle this, or is this recyclable? And you can never have too many reminders, in my opinion, about the do's and don'ts. I think that is a good idea.
Yep, and we can have the tagline, when in doubt, throw it out.
There we go.
I think that's a good idea. Robert, thank you for that. And I think that people are always, like you said, confused about what to recycle and have, and the recycling rules are always changing. So,
that's true.
But yeah, something fun put out there. Hey, we'll put something together. It's National Recycling Day. Guess what? These are the things that should be recycled and, upbeat and fun. But I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. And another thing too is that I think we need to go ahead and get a jump on is we don't have a recycling webpage going on. So if y'all happen to run across or see any good resource links for recycling, anything that we are just like, this needs to be linked on our website, that would be awesome if you could just send those to me if you're just have any free time and want to browse or do some research, because I think maybe compiling some resources for that for our webpage would be good. And maybe this might be a little bit ambitious, but trying to get the website up and running by the end of the year and in National Recycling Month, maybe not by Recycling Day, but sometime in the month where we can say, hey, this is our website, it has resources, check it out type thing. And keeping on with the Recycling Month promotion.
Who would be creating this link for us?
Like the web page would be through our I guess website provider builder. I'm not 100% sure on that.
Is this also Seth? Is Seth doing this too?
Seth, Tiffany, I can do a little bit of it. Mostly there's kind of like I would say there's like a template that most of the pages follow. Content wise, that would be on us, or if you are willing to add some links or a little snippet, that would be awesome too, just because it does kind of fall on us for content purposes.
My suggestion too would be, since we're on such a tight timeline and because they do great work around the city is on recycling, we could consider reaching out to Keep Belmont Beautiful and try to do a collaborative effort and campaign on awareness, just sort of utilizing that resource as well as ourselves in hopes to get better coverage for what we come up with.
And there's also a North Carolina website. I can't remember the name of the department, but it's a .gov site that has a ton of like flyers and we even have like a campaign toolkit for outreach recycling. And I think that a lot of the information that is out there is the same information that we got from Waste Pro when she, I can't remember her name, but the representative came to one of our board meetings. I don't remember when that was, but it seems like a year ago. But there's a lot of stuff that we could add to our page and also maybe even utilize for Recycling Day. I will send a link to that page. And there's like a resources page, and I think it just sort of lists like all the stuff. And what's neat about it is that they have like several different versions of things. So if you want to focus on something specific, there's like a flyer for it, or they have, I think they might even have a social media like toolkit as well.
I'm sure. One thing I just learned by doing the tree PSA project is there's a ton of stuff out there. It just is a matter of finding it. And once you find it, it's fairly easy to utilize. So it's just a matter of we'll just need to have to dig in and actually do the research on that stuff.
Hey, Peyton, I find this calendar really handy. So thanks for pulling this together. This is
definitely. I know I told you the last meeting that I like a roadmap, so we have a tentative roadmap ahead of us, which makes me feel better. Hopefully it will make y'all feel better. I don't even know if y'all are stressed about it in the first place, but yeah, so that's just kind of something that we have, and I think that will be good too, that we can lay out if needed when we meet in November with council too, to say this is what the board's plan is for next calendar year. Yep.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the big event for us, of course, is Arbor Day, and it's 6 months away.
It is.
I'm very bad at predicting the future, but 6 months from now, who knows what the situation will be if we can conduct Arbor Day or not. But certainly we should really start planning for that in January, as you have identified here. And unless we find out otherwise, and at some point, I guess the city has to make decisions months in advance on whether or not those kind of events are going to be canceled or converted to a virtual only event or whatever the case may be. So we'll have to stay in touch with city council about whether or not that's something that we're going to have to think about.
Are you going to share that calendar with us?
I can, definitely. I can. In the follow-up email as well, I can definitely have that calendar.
Yeah, I like this. Nicely done.
Hi, Peyton. It's Sharon. Hi, everybody on the board. Sorry.
Hey, Sharon.
What? You had fun the whole time.
Yeah, I called in late. I was caught up at work, but it all sounds very exciting. So yeah, I'd love to. I can't obviously see the schedule, so I'd love to see that. And then if there was anything on the comprehensive plan from last meeting, I apologize for missing that one too. It's been crazy year at the moment. If there was any of slides that you created, Peyton, or anything like that, because I'm feeling a little bit lost. I want to try and just get myself as caught up as possible. But yeah, so that I can at least contribute something. So apologies again, but it all sounds really great. So thank you, everybody.
Okay. So another update that I have is this week we started interviewing interns. So hopefully we'll be able to bring them on board and they can assist us with some of this stuff we have going on. We do which by the looks of it, it looks like we do have a full calendar. So they can definitely help us with that if they do come on board. So that's an exciting update to share.
How many interns are in the plan?
I believe it's one, and I think they're part-time. So with that, I will say things are always changing, but right now what's in the pipeline for us interning or interviewing for is one part-time intern. And then with that too, I know that their responsibilities are likely to be varied just because they're looking for work experience to see what types of planning they are gravitating toward as they pursue their careers. And so I don't know that they'll be dedicated solely to green initiatives, but we'll be able to help and certainly be present and engaged with you guys' meetings, where they can plug in. So hopefully we'll feel some relief, but I know with everything going on, it will be busy. And the more time that we can get all people to commit, the easier it will be as a whole for us to move these things forward. And hopefully when we do need help, if we can get some volunteers to come alongside of us, that will help us to reach those goals.
Definitely.
Very good.
So one last thing I had, next meeting, scheduled ESB meeting, which I know is kind of in the future, but just something to think about, is on Veterans Day, which the city is closed on that day. So we just need to decide. We can do that either this meeting or the follow-up meeting, and either next week or probably the week after. If we would like to meet on Tuesday the 10th of that month, or maybe Monday of that month.
Either one is fine with me, the 9th or 10th.
Hey, do you want to send something out so we can all
Definitely. I just wanted to kind of get that on y'all's radar, just to let you know that we will not be working that day, and so our meeting will need to be readjusted. But that's all.
My company doesn't recognize that holiday, so I have to work.
Oh goodness, I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Rob, we have an intern position open if you'd like to transition over.
You'll get the day off.
You'll get Veterans Day.
It's good to know. It's always good to have a backup plan.
And then for our makeup meeting, do we want to say next Wednesday and the Wednesday after that, and send out an email and see who's available?
So, we can definitely try to do next Wednesday. We have to post meetings 48 hours in advance, give a public notice for that. So we would have to know by Monday, which could be a little bit tight if people don't reply by Friday. But if not, definitely the 28th, I think, should work, or the 27th.
What is the goal of the makeup meeting?
So tonight we don't have a quorum, so we couldn't set the agenda or adopt the minutes or vote on anything. So we're just going to try to do a recap with more members and to vote if needed for that meeting.
Okay, sounds good.
All right. Well, I think we're concluding for today. Sounds like. Unless there's anything else.
I don't have anything. Tiffany, are you good?
I am good. I think we've covered a lot, and so what my hope is that once we can get all this out to you guys via email, that hopefully before we meet again, you can read it and sort of digest it. And then if we have any questions, we can talk about it in more detail, hopefully next week.
All right.
Actually, that makes me just think of a question. We've talked a couple of times about having a central place for documentation versus email. Is that possible to do, whether it's Dropbox or somewhere like that, just so that I have a central place to go to review documents?
I think it's something we can look into. I haven't heard of anything like that, or really. I've heard of Dropbox or things like that, but I haven't heard about anything really of a Dropbox for the board. But I can try to look into that and see.
Okay, yeah, that would be really, really helpful. Any of the presentations and maybe the meeting minutes, so that to give some additional time just to prepare prior to a meeting. That would be awesome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right.
Well, I propose that we conclude this meeting.
Okay.
So, me?
Sounds good.
Okay. All right. Well, thanks everyone. Like I say, I think it was a productive call even without the quorum, so that worked out.
I thanks again.
Peyton, again, thank you for all your support. Really appreciate it.
Thank you guys. Thanks for coming out tonight.
And Peyton, Sarah, and Seth, thank you, guys.
Yeah, and thank you too, Tiffany.
No problem. Thank you guys. And like I said, I know this was a lot of information, so I think a follow-up will be great. And I think it'll also be helpful to be able to share this with those who couldn't join us so that they can have some input when we meet again. So.
Look forward to it.
Perfect.
Thanks.
All right.
Guys.
Have a good evening.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Bye.
Bye.